Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Maller Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. lawmg.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. It's been more than 3 years since the start of the pandemic, and we still don't know a lot about long COVID or the best ways to treat it.
I've had people that I've worked with who have said, I went to my doctor and said, I think I've got long COVID, and they said, oh, I'm not really finding that to be a thing.
But Hoosiers are coming together to get help from others suffering with symptoms. The National Muzzleloading Rifle Association gathered in Friendship, Indiana for its annual Spring National Shoot.
You just really kind of get to walk back in time.
The event draws thousands of people to the small southern Indiana town. And leaders from Indiana and Purdue universities met this week to officially sign off on splitting IUPUI into 2 universities. We'll have these stories plus the latest news from across the state right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Perry Metz, sitting in for Joe Wren. Though deaths and hospitalizations for COVID-19 infections have stabilized, the CDC says as many as 4 million Americans are living with long COVID. As more is learned about the long-term effects of the illness, one Bloomington therapist is working to help people cope. Benta Bouthier reports.
Bloomington clinical health psychologist Linda Brown has treated people with unseen illnesses for years. She saw reports of COVID-19 infections and persisting symptoms in 2021.
I thought, oh, wow, if the numbers are going to be like that, they're going to be really big here in Indiana. And maybe a group like the group that I've been running for women with invisible illness will be needed.
She started the first round of an online group this year, specifically for people living with long COVID. She teaches patients to advocate for themselves and to use energy management techniques. The U.S. Department of Health issued guidance that long COVID can be a disability under the Americans with Disabilities Act in 2021. But Brown says not everyone has access to the health care they need to start making a recovery.
I've had people that I've worked with who have said, I went to my doctor and said, I think I've got long COVID, and they said, oh, I'm not really finding that to be a thing. And of course that was devastating to the person I was working with, because he was suffering a great deal, unable to work, unable to do anywhere near as much activity as he used to.
Susie Smith is one of Brown's patients. She had to stop working after her second bout of COVID. Since 2021, she's had shingles twice, Bell's palsy, extreme fatigue, and seizures.
Nobody was talking about long COVID yet, but I was having these bouts of fatigue that were keeping me out of work for a couple of days at a time.
That was huge for Smith, who used to juggle work at a law firm, exercise, and taking care of 5 kids. She got her law degree from IUPUI in 2017 at 33 years old and wasn't ready to put her career on hold. Because of the seizures, Smith hasn't driven since August 2021.
I'm supposed to be the caregiver. I'm supposed to be the one that does everything. And so it's really, really hard.
She and her family kept looking for answers, but ready access to doctors and treatments aren't quickly available in Ladoga, where she lives.
It took from all of 2021 until about November when they started popping up with these long COVID clinics. And I was like, I need to get into one of those. I need to see if that's what's going on, because I wasn't ready to just stop my life.
At Cleveland Clinic in 2022, she was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, which her neurologist says is a result of COVID.
I got put with a support group of people who have long COVID through Linda, and it helped me to understand I have a baseline, and if I push, it's like these illnesses push right back at you.
Now she stays home doing chores when she's able, caring for the dog her husband got her. Her seizures have subsided some since. Another of Brown's patients, Yvonne Thompson, also had to stop working after she got COVID in 2020.
I had difficulty going upstairs. My heart rate would just out of nowhere get erratic, skyrocket, and I just had this horrible fatigue, and I ended up on FMLA.
A cardiologist diagnosed her with COVID postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Thompson is grateful her physician took her seriously and that she was able to access specialists to help her get better. She had to devote herself to decreasing inflammation in her body, eating on a strict diet, and limiting her social and workloads. Now Thompson can work part-time. Thompson and Smith described themselves as caretakers and community members who were always on the go before.
My 2019 self versus my 2023 self, we're different people.
Thompson says mental health counseling with Brown has been essential to her treatment, dealing with the PTSD and grief that came with her illness.
There's some stigma attached to saying, oh, you have PTSD because of a virus. And it's not like an event that caused the PTSD, it's the actual physiological impact this virus had on my body and my brain that caused this response. And I had a hard time wrapping my mind around that.
She thought PTSD just affected people who had served in combat or had been victims of terrible crimes. Smith wants treatment for long COVID to be more personalized to its wide range of symptoms. Brown says more multidisciplinary clinics should open so that people living with long COVID don't have to seek treatment so many different places.
It may be helpful if everyone is aware that there may be people in their social circles who are silently living with long COVID. What to do about that? I'm not sure, other than be as open as possible to talking to people who have had COVID and are reporting lingering symptoms. Otherwise, I think we're still figuring out how to deal with this.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Ben Taboutier.
Brown has a second round of the group meeting now with 7 members and will be taking more patients for a third round of the group in September. We're joined now by Dr. Sean Granis, the Vice President of Data and Analytics at the Regenstrief Institute in Indianapolis. Dr. Granis, what do you mean when you refer to long COVID?
Sure. As we all know, most people with COVID-19 get better within a few days to a few weeks after the infection. But some people, a small portion, have symptoms that last for 4 weeks or more after that infection. And that's when we start looking for the symptoms of long COVID. Anyone who was infected can experience it, and we're still trying to understand what that portion or prevalence is.
What is the treatment then?
So right now, the typical treatments are symptomatic, meaning that if you're having breathing issues, we tend to look at what are the typical respiratory treatments that might make sense, maybe similar to asthma. If you're having chest or joint pains, we think about treating that along those lines. We're still trying to understand what those underlying mechanisms are, and that's the focus of a lot of the research right now, is to better understand clearly the cause so that we can get at the best treatments.
Was one strain of COVID more likely to lead to long COVID than others?
So what we know is from the best studies so far, and the research space continues to evolve, we know that different strains could all cause long COVID, but we would see different symptoms. So for instance, we know that Omicron tended to demonstrate more fatigue. We saw that myalgias were the original wild type strain would cause muscle aches, sleep difficulties. We see more with Omicron. So different strains seem to have different prevalences, but every strain can cause long COVID.
Now, doctor, we just heard an anecdote about another doctor telling a patient that long COVID wasn't really a thing. What do you say to skeptics?
Well, what I say is that the data is pretty clear we have been studying the data on individuals who did have COVID, who did not have COVID in very large populations. And there are very clearly different symptoms emerging among patients who've had COVID at a very different rate, meaning that after people have COVID, they tend to have more heart or cardiac issues. They tend to have more respiratory issues. We see that in the data. Now what we're trying to do is understand how many people who've had COVID does that actually affect? What's the prevalence? And then understand why is that? What about the virus is causing those? So very clearly, the data tells us there's something going on. The purpose of the research is to better understand what that something is.
Thank you, Doctor. That was Dr. Sean Granis of the Regenstrief Institute in Indianapolis. A $600 million cement plant opened in Mitchell Tuesday with claims that it has significantly lower CO2 emissions than similar plants. Clayton Baumgarth has this story.
Heidelberg Materials says the plant is the second largest cement plant in North America and one of the most technologically advanced and sustainable ever built. Chris Ward, president and CEO of Heidelberg Materials North America, says that not only is the new plant more sustainable, but it's also more productive.
This plant now will do 3 times the amount of cement and generate 3 times the amount of economic benefit that our legacy plant has.
Heidelberg is adding more than 50 full-time jobs to the already 120 employed at the site. The site will also leverage funding from the U.S. Department of Energy to study the feasibility of carbon capture, utilization, and storage at the site. The company aims to have those processes implemented by 2030.
Lots of feasibility studies to still be done, both in terms of geology and in terms of plant. But we'll be working together very closely with the Department of Energy to accumulate enough information for us to then get to a point we can make that investment happen.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Clayton Baumgarth.
The plant can produce more than 2.4 million tons of cement a year and is expected to help address U.S. cement supply chain constraints. The crack of muskets and the smell of burnt powder in the wind means the National Muzzleloading Rifle Association has returned to Friendship, Indiana. Ethan Sandweiss reports on the event, which draws thousands of people to shoot, craft, and trade in antique firearms.
It's the NMLRA's Spring National Shoot, and visitors and vendors are flocking to southern Indiana.
It's just a big, kind of a huge family that comes together twice a year here at our national competitions, and everybody just has a really good time and help one another.
Mike Yazel has been coming to these shoots since he was 3 years old. He met his wife here, and together they brought their kids to Friendship as fourth-generation members.
History is a big part of our project, is keeping the early American history together and keeping people realizing, how things were done, how simple it was done, and trying to bring that to another generation.
The NMLRA isn't quite as old as the guns its members prize. It's just turning 90 this year. The spring event pulls in sharpshooters, craftspeople, and history enthusiasts from all over the world to this small town 9 miles outside of Versailles. Several thousand people stay at campsites. Thousands more attend as day trippers.
What brings them back just is that variety of individuals that are here and the stories around the campfires and just the multitude of things you can see here.
Yazel says there are at least 15 disciplines to compete in, including axe throwing and archery. But not everyone's here to compete. The festival is also a gathering place for craftspeople who specialize in historically accurate clothing, powder horns, canoes, rifles, and bows.
Most of the early Native American bows looked like this because they were easy to build, quick to build, and powerful enough to kill small game, even a deer, about 35 pounds.
Navio Eccolini gave up shooting when he developed fibromyalgia, but it hasn't stopped him from crafting. His interest took off when he first came to Friendship in 1968 and met a man carrying a Kentucky rifle, a long muzzle-loaded gun from the 1700s.
Where'd you get that? Oh, I built it on my kitchen table last winter. Oh my God, where'd you get the parts? Right over there. My heart was beating so fast.
For some, the spring shoot is a family affair. Kids hone their survival skills and even compete with adults.
The muzzleloader shooting's really fun. This year I can actually hold it up. They're really, really heavy.
It's important for me, for my boys to learn outdoor skills and learn how to shoot and hunt, and it's just been a part of what our family did growing up.
The outfits are really, really cool. There's so many different varieties, so many different time periods that come here.
If it's not their cup of tea, it's not their cup of tea. I get that, but at the same time, you know, just spending time together and then learning about history and learning about firearms from history, and once again, learning to slow down some and appreciate the past.
You just really kind of get to walk back in time. And yeah, I think you'll find in the primitive area, even more so than the rest of the property, that people are probably more willing to sit down and share and talk to you.
During the rest of the year, the NMLRA runs a museum and maintains the 550-acre property for primitive weapons practice. The crowds will all be gone by Sunday, but Yazel says they'll return in September for the fall shoot. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Ethan Sandweiss.
In addition to organizing annual shoots, the group holds classes on gun making, maintains a library and museum, and hosts historical reenactments. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. After a long search, Food Pantry 279 has found a new home in Ellettsville that will more than triple its size. And a band comprised of middle school students from the Project School just released its first album. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
I've always believed that people are at the heart of every story we tell.
Any story or interview that makes people who watch it say, you know, I hadn't thought of it in that way. That, for me, is gold.
I like to be able to leave the viewer with some sort of emotion, whether it's outrage, whether it's someone overcoming long odds, telling a big story through an individual story.
What makes the NewsHour different is that we have time to be thoughtful about the stories that we tell, the voices that we intend to elevate.
I know the role that good journalism plays in making all of us feel more connected to each other, in helping all of us understand each other a little bit better. I see this as a mission, and I see this as a service.
Welcome back. We're joined now by Lucas Gonzalez for more headlines from around the state. Lucas?
Thanks, Perry. The boards of Purdue University and Indiana University held joint meetings Wednesday to officially dissolve Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, which the two schools had jointly shared since 1969. Both schools said they plan to expand their student presence in Indianapolis. Purdue President Mung Chiang says the separation will offer both schools an opportunity to grow. Purdue will launch Purdue University in Indianapolis and plans to both lease space, construct new buildings on 28 acres near the university. That leaves most of the current IUPUI to IU. Business leaders painted glowing pictures of Bloomington's economy at the annual conference of the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation Wednesday. Phil Powell of the Indiana Business Research Center touted the city's 2.5% unemployment rate and 6.3% wage increase. He also spoke on 4 areas already important to the local economy: innovation, manufacturing, health, and teaching.
There are sectors and industries and markets that we're really good at. Let's double down and invest in those. And that's going to be the quickest route to even higher level of prosperity here in Bloomington.
Powell described recent layoffs at local biotech companies Cook and Catalent as one-time corrections, and he expects the industry to continue growing in Bloomington. To that end, Indiana University president and keynote speaker Pamela Whitten emphasized expanding IU's life sciences and computing programs to train and retain Indiana's future workforce.
Put simply, Hoosiers need greater confidence in their ability to afford higher education. They need more tools to help them do so, and they need more substantial incentives to pursue their education right here in Indiana. I don't want another smart Hoosier kid leaving our state to go to college.
BEDC President Jennifer Pearl says Bloomington needs to improve in dealing with the high levels of households struggling to afford basics in Monroe County. Indiana University is helping to track electric and gas utility disconnections across the country. Researchers with IU's Energy Justice Lab hope it will raise awareness about energy insecurity and encourage policies that protect vulnerable Hoosiers with unpaid bills from shutoffs. Indiana's winter moratorium on disconnections only protects Hoosiers eligible for federal assistance, and there's no moratorium this summer.
As we are increasingly living in a world of climate change, it's imperative that more states put in place policies that are protective in the summer, as well as the protections that already exist for winter months.
According to the dashboard, AES Indiana had the highest disconnection rate among electric utilities in 2021. That comes even though the state doesn't require utilities to report things like disconnections and unpaid bills. After years of looking for a new home, Food Bank Pantry 279 has found one in Ellettsville Smith Pike Plaza. The new space is 4,000 square feet, almost tripling the size of the current space at Trinity Lutheran Church.
We don't have a lot of space, so we're constantly tripping over pallets and each other and just anything and everything. We can't move the food as fast. We have to turn down some donations.
She says when the pantry moves in a couple months, it will have space for a walk-in freezer. The group is fundraising for that now. The new space also may bring back an old service.
So hopefully with the move, we'll be able to bring back indoor shopping again and have just a few spaces out front where people can have food brought to them if they absolutely need to have curbside. But for the most part, it's back to indoor, which is so much safer.
And Perry Chavez says the organization serves more than 9,000 people each month.
Thank you, Lucas. Former Monroe County judge and children's advocate Viola Taliaferro died Tuesday at the age of 94. Taliaferro was the first black member of the county's judiciary after being named Monroe Circuit Court Magistrate in 1989, and then Monroe Circuit Court Judge in 1995. Her main impact was in juvenile courts, where she was lauded for being tough but compassionate until her retirement in 2004. She graduated from the IU Law School in 1977 when she was 44 after a previous career as a teacher. A rock band made up of middle school students from the Project School just released its first album on the streaming site Bandcamp. Ethan Sandweiss and Devin Ridgway joined Youth Revolution at its end-of-year concert Monday.
Ever since I was really little and I had a tiny microphone, I've always wanted to become some kind of person that people listen to and know. And so it feels really nice that that's finally come true.
Mr. Matt just basically got a bunch of kids together and they would play music. It was originally strings, so guitars and ukulele, but it evolved to become more than that.
I'm super proud of this album. I've never really heard anything like it from kids this age. I grew up in concert bands and stuff, and there's an adult standing above you, waving their arms, and you're reading music on a stand, and this is more visceral. It's, they write the songs, they learn how to jam.
One of the first songs I wrote for jam session like Youth Revolution was the last time. I wrote that about my biological father, who had recently passed away at the time. Just being in jam sesh was a safe place where I can just like let all my feelings out.
Mr. Matt is a really awesome dude for like making that happen. Personally for me, since he's a guitar player, he's helped me like with developing solos and that sort of stuff. He's really helped me along the journey.
I don't think there's anything like this in America. Like, I know there's like little rock bands and stuff, but the way they like work together, write songs together, arranging, the kind of the professional recording we put out, I feel pretty unique.
Just being like 13, all of us are, I think, and releasing an album that anyone can listen to at any time is very cool. Also just playing music in general I think is fun.
And it's something that could last forever if they want to keep playing.
I can trust them and like know that they're not going to judge me about my lyrics or like my voice.
I don't really know what my career is, but I know it's going to involve music in some way.
Good night.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Smithville Fiber Internet, streaming TV, home security and automation in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Mallard Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. And by WTIU members. Thank you.